and the computers in V3 can do 3D, then you can do it down there. So I'm just going to show you really quick how it works and what it's about. We'll skip it for your section, that's fine, okay? You're not going to have that cool 3D effect, that's fine, as long as you know how to do it. So I'm going to show you really, really quick how it works. So essentially, I'm going to get some text here and I'll write 3D, okay? And now I might just change the way that text looks. Okie dokes, so let's change that. Whoops. And I'm going to change it to something a little easier to see. My favorite font, where are you? And there. There we go. All right, 3D. So now what would happen, okay, normally, if you wanted to make this font have that 3D background, you would have to get this file, you'd have to go into Illustrator, you would have to draw the 3D extrusions. It was really tricky. It was really hard to do. But what you can do in Photoshop now is you can let it do it for you. So that's it there. So if I go into the 3D section, so you'll notice on your computers, unfortunately, that's grayed out because you can't do it yet. But if you went to, say, B3, you would be able to. So what I want to do is do a new 3D extrusion from selected layer. So if I click that, there we go. It makes this whole new area, this whole new scene, and what it's done is it's gone and made that 3D, which is pretty cool. So again, it's giving me that depth there. So I can work in this environment. I can change the camera around, okay? I can change the depth. I can change the depth of field. So that's your cameras. So I can change stuff like that, which might not actually see much of an effect on there. I can change the field of view, so make it really close or really far away, okay? If I go into here, so that's your camera settings, okay? So that's how you change what it looks like.
It's so pretty.
I can get rid of this. So that's the top-down view, so we don't need that. Let's get rid of that. All right, and you can play with stuff like that, okay? And then you can do a few other things in here. If you go into here, you can change where it moves, you can change the angle, you can change all that kind of fun stuff, all right? Or you can go into a different kind of view, and again, you can see it change. So it's pretty cool, and it does it all for you, all right? And then if you go into here, you can start changing some other stuff as well. You can change, if I go into the scene here, this is where you change those colors. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. All right, so I can give it, you know, a cross-section, doesn't really matter much there. I can give it lines, so you can actually see those lines, which we don't really need. What I might do is change the surface, and I can change the colors as well. So if we make a cartoon, it's got a cartoon kind of look, but I'll just change that to red. Excellent. Or we can make it like that. So it's got that kind of shaded look. So then if I put lines on that, it'll kind of outline it a bit. So if I change those lines, there you go. So you've got that kind of cartoony look. So if I go to solid, all right, and actually I'll just change that to flat. All right, and you can change these kind of things here as well. I'm just going to go back to lighting or sketch. There you go. Let's go back to paint mask. So you can play around with how this thing looks essentially. Normals, constant, flat. So let's turn those lines off. I'll turn the points off. And so once you play around with this and you get it exactly how you want it, okay, you can then flatten it out and make it into some text that you can play with. So we're done. So that's exactly how we want it. We can move it around. Okay, we can go back to our scene, go back to our view, and we can change the angles and we can do whatever. All right, and then you're done. So once you're done with that, you'll see you've now got this 3D layer here, and you can see it's got that little box down the corner, which means you can go back and change it if you're not happy. Or what we can do is we can then make it into an actual image, or we can just flatten it and make it into something that we can work with. So if you have a look in your iBook, so jump into your iBook for a sec and have a look at that section so I can show you. I just want to show you a few other options in there as well. All right, so have you got it on yours? Yeah. Excellent. So if you go into things like the 3D section there, you can see these presets as well. You can make it invisible, so you just get the lines. You can change how deep it goes as well. Let's change that to a good color again. All right, that's better. Now I've got red. We can actually see it does the shadows too. Okay, you can change all that kind of stuff. All right. You can then go back if you wanted to and change this text if you didn't like it. You can turn shadows on or off so it makes these cool little shadows. You can see you can do quite a lot. All right, so if I've done that and I'm going to go back to my scene here and put lines on it, and I'm going to change that to, I think I had it as a solid. Okay. There we change. So you got to be careful on what you use on this sucker. All right, I'm just going to double check which one I use. All right. There we go. So you can see I've got that kind of cartoon look. So it's got a flat color and it's got this black outline. So then we're done. All right. So again, have a look at your iBook to see what you do after that. You've got it in there. You've got it exactly how you want it. Okay. Now we go back to our layers. Say we want that. That's perfect. That's exactly how we want it. If I right-click this, and I click this last one, we're done. So now, it's actually a layer, like in Photoshop, and we can do whatever we want with it. Problem is, now we can't edit that, all right? And so you're done. So that's really handy, okay? So again, it's really, really simple to do. It doesn't just have to be with text. You can do it with images.
Is it possible to go back and fix it, or?
Yeah, as long as you don't rasterize that. So that rasterize step is your last step. So you can leave it there, and you can keep working, and you can make other layers around it. So if I go...
But as soon as you rasterize it...
Yes, so you generally don't do that to the very end. So I can sit here, and you can see I can still work, you know, or I can put that layer below it. So the 3D is still there. I can move it, all right? But the second I go back into it, I can now... Maybe you don't like that angle, so I go back into my 3D here. I go back into my camera. All right, and I can change, you know, again, start changing the scale, or we can start changing the rotation of it, change the way it looks, all that kind of stuff. And now, all right, that's how I want it now. So then I can then go back to my layers, and there it is there. Okay, I can play with it. So rasterize is like the very end. You're happy with it, you're done, you're sorted. All right? So it doesn't just have to be with text. You can actually go in here, if we do a new layer, and I might do a lovely picture. Let's have a look. I'm going to go that on there. All right, let me get some black, and I'll do like smiley face. That's the best smiley face I've ever seen. There we go. All right, you can do the same thing. You can go into 3D, all right, and you can start to play around with that smiley face. So whatever you draw on this screen, you can actually make into 3D. You can add some depth to it. So why would that be handy? Why would you do that in an image? Like, what would you use that for? Other than our postcard example, yeah? Yeah, yeah, it's a good one. If you wanted to do a real quick example, you wanted to draw something and show what it would look like when it's in 3D, what else would you use it for, you think? Frankie? Yeah, birthday card, add really cool effects. Fred?
Like if you're building like a building somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. Like what Clay was saying. So you can draw these flat buildings and give it this kind of 3D perspective. So what it may look like if you're doing 3D. So that's what it's for, and it's really, really cool. So it's really easy to do, and I'm sure I might even try and book the MacLab one class and we'll have a play with it. But that's all you need to do. So it's going to be in there, and then we'll just go back to our layers, and let's do another layer. And there they are there. And then you can move them around like you normally would, change them, and then go back. So really good for, if you think of like t-shirts, you know, where do you see 3D text? T-shirts, you know, footy jerseys that have that big 3D. Do you need to go? Oh no, you're just watching. But footy jerseys, you know, logos. I mean, every single logo you see, you can't walk past the supermarket and like all the boxes have these 3D text logos, you know, buy my cereal. You can use it for stuff like that as well. So that's what it's for. So make logos, banners, cool stuff like that. But we can't do that in this room. So the video's up there. If you get stuck, you can watch it later. Awesome. All right, so skip that step. So what you're going to find is you're going to skip that whole 3D set all the way until the end. So you're going to have the text and the stroke. So I'm going to show you what you're going to have because we can't do that. Again, let me just get rid of that. I don't need to save that. So what you'll have, I'll quickly catch up to where you are. All right, we'll go new. I'll just make it nice and small. And we're going to have... All right, and we're going to have the rayon. All right, let me just bring mine down a little bit. That's a bit too big. Okay. Oh, Bramat, actually. We are now Bramat College. I don't know what a Bramat is. It sounds like something you have in front of the door. Apply. All right, so we're Bramat, which is the new college name, Bramat. So you've done this with yours. You've obviously, some of you have played around with it. You've moved it. So what you need to do is you need to make a stroke. So I'm going to go in here, and I'll probably rename our college back to Bremer, because that will probably get me fired. All right. And I'm going to make it red. So, can't do the 3D step, but what I'm going to do, if I right-click our Bremer layer, and I've got my blending options, which are on the top there, and our stroke. We did this last time. There we go. And we'll bring that stroke up a bit. It's probably too much. There we go. So that's what you'll get up to. So very similar. A nice big font. My font's a bit small. If you look at the book I made, it's got a nice big font, because remember, you're putting photos inside these letters. So it needs to be a really big, thick font so you can actually show these letters really easily. Okay? And that's what you're going to do. So skip all those steps, which is quite a lot, and we're going to get to that point where you're doing that. Does that kind of all make sense? I'll come around and help you out individually. Excellent. All right, thanks, guys. Au revoir.